And I'd now like to share another success story of the city of Flanders from Liesbeth Rombouts.
So thank you for inviting me. We are in Flanders. I suppose most of you don't know where Flanders is located, so I've prepared a small movie. Flanders is located in Europe, in the Western Europe, and it's basically the northern part of Belgium. We are a region that's very densely populated. It's about 485 inhabitants per square kilometer. So we have a lot of cables and pipelines in the underground, and digging a hole in such a dense populated area might be a little bit risky. We saw it on the 30th of July 2004 when there was a gas explosion in Guillandier. A couple of weeks earlier, one contractor damaged the pipeline, the high pressure gas pipeline. And when the network operator of that gas pipeline raised the pressure on that pipeline, it exploded. One piece of the pipeline was found 250 meters away. There was a crater about 10 meters wide and 4 meters deep. There were 24 people killed, so it's no wonder our government didn't want such a disaster anymore. So what did we do? We talked with the main stakeholders, so contractors, public authorities from the local government, from the regional government, the Flemish Network Council, which are utility distribution companies and organizations. And they came up with a new way of working. Before Guillandier, as a contractor, you had to go to the local authority, ask for which utility companies are present in your municipality. You had to write to each individual company asking for the maps of the underground pipelines and cables. It was a hit and miss thing. So you might miss new utility companies, or you might have written to older ones that didn't exist anymore. So the first thing we did in Flanders was to make KLIP. It's a cable and pipeline information portal, and we did it in two phases. The first phase was just a central application platform where a contractor could he had one place where he could apply for maps of the underground infrastructure, well, meaning only cables and pipelines. And we distributed it, the question or the application to all the utility companies that were present or said they were present in that specific area. So you, instead of having to write 10 letters, you had only to fill in one web application form. The utility companies then had to process their own their maps. In the old days, it was selecting the cupboards where the paper maps were, copying them or plotting them on a new paper map, post them and send them to the contractor. So every time you had a lot of different formats, a lot of different base maps, you could have different symbology. This is just a sample of the answers I got when I applied for a map for my own street. And I didn't know 30 years before that date, all the street names in my neighborhood were changed. So they had, it took me half a day to just to figure out which maps do I have to look at, on which maps can I find my street. So that wasn't ideal. It was still causing some damage, well, a lot of damage, because nobody was looking at the paper maps. We did a business case then. We talked to the stakeholders. We were still talking to them, and we looked for one big game changer. It turned out that the biggest game changer was going fully digital. That means for the administration costs and people who have to do some tasks to answer or apply for maps and answer the requests, well, the gross administration cost reduction was by 80%. instead of having 10 million euros each year to pay for the applications and the answering, 2 million euros each year was sufficient. So now we are in the second phase of KLIP. It's a almost fully digital one. You still have the central application form. Well, you can do it by web services if you wish. We still send all the requests to the individual involved utility companies. And nowadays, they have a fully automated answering process because they don't send maps anymore to the contractors. They send data to us, to KLIP. We collect the data, and the data is looking something like the DIX file Ellen told about. We collected data, and we make one simple. We make one map that sends to the contractor, and it's looking like this. So remember the picture before with all the paper work. This is what the contractor is seeing nowadays. It's a lot more user friendly. If a contractor wants the digital data themselves, so instead of just viewing an online viewer or an app, he can apply for the XML data KLIP receives from the utility companies as well. And then it's possible to have a fully automated process from applying for the maps until interpreting them. Because the XML data, or you can convert them and load them in your own software and do your own analysis on that data. If we see to the contractor side, they were used. They would have a shack, and they would have room and place to hang up a map of all the works or of all the working area they are going to work. Most of the times it was looking more like this, like you have a van and you have a big paper map with the utilities, with the underground cables and pipelines. If you were lucky and it was not so windy and it was not raining, you could open the map on your bonnet, and then you had space. But if you were unlucky and the weather was not so fine, you had to unfold your paper map within your van, and it's not that fun and it's not that easy, especially because you get a lot of paper card boxes full of paper maps, and you have to find the right one. So nowadays, you just go to the web application, or you just open your own iPad or Android tablet. You can go straight to the data you need. You have an overlook. You can have a very nice view of all the available cables and pipelines, or all the ones that we got. You can turn on and off layers if you want. If you click on a cable or pipeline, you see more information about it. But nowadays, the data or the maps are consulted. They are consulted at the excavation site. It's very, very useful because in earlier times, people who were going to dig, they did a sample trench, and then they started digging because there's nothing here. But they didn't look at the maps. Nowadays, it's becoming so much more easier to interpret the maps and to get to them. They're really used at the excavation sites as well. Who are our users? We have around 20,000 map requests or initiators, we call it. They're from roughly 2,000 companies. So most of them are contractors. There are also local governments or regional governments, even the utility companies themselves. They apply for a lot of maps because they are updating their own assets as well and operating them, maintaining them. We have 235 registered utility network authorities. In Flanders, you're considered a utility network authority when you operate a cable or pipeline for your own or for professional reasons. So you have the utility distribution companies, but universities or hospitals or so on that have a coax or a fiber network or an electricity network. KLIP is enforced by law in Flanders. That's very useful because you always have some companies or some organizations that don't want. The law is more easy for them to, yes, you have to apply for maps in KLIP, or yes, you have to digitize your paper plans because at that moment you have, it's mandatory to answer on the map request with data in IMKL format. It's an XML data scheme we agreed upon. You have to answer to KLIP, and you're not allowed anymore to answer directly to the contractor that applied for the maps. I want to conclude that we paid a lot of effort to have a very sturdy finance model. Our KLIP is paid by the users, so every contractor or everybody who wants to apply for a map has to pay a small fee, but it's enough for us to maintain, operate the whole system. The stakeholder management was very important. We have a lot of stakeholders, it took a lot of time and a lot of work to everybody aiming in the same direction. But having stakeholder buy-in is very important for the success of the project. And we first had the stakeholder buy-in. We first built the digital phase of KLIP, and then we altered the law. So for most organizations, they were already answering through KLIP because it's much cheaper for them before they were obliged to.
So Liesbeth, thank you so much.